Just making sure that I am live streaming and it is working. I know I do this before every live stream, but I want to make sure I can. Okay. So, it's a big news. UFO sighting is officially confirmed. I know that this is few weeks old news, but like everything, I take my time to kind of absorb the information before I kind of form my own views and jump to conclusions. And I know this has been kind of portrayed in the media a few weeks back that US Navy confirmed UFO sightings back in 2004. So we are already like 15 years behind what official video we have right now. So I bet like there are so many different people who might have seen UFOs at different regions across the world. But one of the reasons why I kind of even stumbled upon this topic again today was because I was listening to Joe Rogan's podcast. And if you haven't already listened to his podcast, definitely do, because he brought in the commander, David Freyer, I think so. Let me check. I don't want to get his name wrong. But he is the Navy commander who actually saw the UFO and while one of his flight test, and which is a big deal because as if you heard Joe Rogan, David Fravor, I think, David Fravor. So, which is a big thing because Joe Rogan himself don't just jump to conclusions, at least not anymore. His words, and he liked to hear firsthand from people who are more, I would say, reliable or trustworthy when it comes to things like these. And when I was listening to the entire podcast, and when I heard Commander David describe the entire experience, I have no doubt that they actually, I mean, the way he described, in addition to that, there were also video evidence of UFO. And the big deal about this is, I mean, technically UFO is just unidentified flying object, and unidentified flying object could be anything. It could be a object flown by aliens, or could be secret UFOs developed by any of the government across the world. To be honest, if I have to pick one or the other, I would pick that, or I would hope that there are aliens already here who are just getting a sense of the planet, and hopefully they come in peace. I mean, if this video, or since this video is like 15 years old, so I mean, by now we would have known if they weren't peaceful. But at the same time, maybe they are just holding on, just waiting to see us self-destroy ourselves, or just see if we're gonna get out of this climate crisis mess and all the other tribal mindset we have across the world, and only then maybe they're gonna reveal themselves. I like to think, or let me say this, or there could be some other reason for this, right? I think it would be very interesting if it weren't aliens, neither any of the government, but some sort of species of which have managed to stay hidden so far, and that is possibly going to happen only if those species kind of live under the water. So I hope it's some kind of species like maybe octopus or dolphins. That would be really cool. I mean, obviously I'm just kind of bullshitting right now, and this is more like hocus pocus, but there are some people who actually believe that there are lizard people somewhere underground who escaped the asteroid, or the dinosaurs who escaped the asteroid which hit Earth 65 million years back, and they managed to kind of develop this underground society and created all this developed machineries or technology. I actually like that idea, but I mean, it's pretty unlikely. We have good amount of technology to kind of measure a lot of or sense a lot of things underground. Although the ocean is vastly unexplored, and obviously there is good chances that there could be some sort of society who are hidden to our sensors and whatnot, and they develop this amazing technology, and we are just seeing those UFOs now. That would be really cool. I personally would hope that if there are any other species which could develop UFO, I hope that either it's octopus or dolphins. Dolphins, because they are very social beings, and imagine what we could learn if there are any dolphins who could communicate with us. I was actually having this chat with my friend the other day that it would be awesome if we could communicate with some of the conscious animal species, or what we call as animals, at least in different altered states. So obviously it's not possible to communicate with the language tools we have right now, because we have no way to understand the frequencies which dolphins uses. I guess we can read the frequencies, but I don't know how far are we from deciphering it, like the language different dolphin societies or uses to communicate with each other. But if we get to a level where we can communicate with some of these beings, imagine the amount of things we can learn, especially from dolphins or octopus, for that matter. Those are magnificent creatures, and I would be super pumped up if that ever gonna happen. I would like to have a chat with any of those species and try to understand how they look at the world and what all senses they have to kind of experience the reality. It would be mind-blowing. But since the UFO is confirmed, and it's unlikely that dolphins or octopus have created the technology, the most likely, I won't say most likely, but the common interpretation of this would be that there are aliens among us. And if that's true, and honestly, I think we are not alone in this universe. The universe is huge. It's beyond our imagination, at least in normal state. And there are trillions of stars. There are, I don't know mathematically how many galaxies we have in the known universe, but I would say within those galaxies there are billions of stars, and within those stars there are, I don't know, maybe billions or trillions of planets, and it's very, 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 very likely that there are other beings spread across the universe. And if any of those beings develop technology with which they can visit Earth and can just observe us, that, yeah, it's I don't have any words to go from there. Like, that would be amazing to kind of just have that first interaction with aliens. And I hope that we interact with whoever were flying those UFOs within my lifetime, because these things have been going on for centuries. Or apparently, allegedly. Obviously there wasn't any proof in the past, but based on, we already know that this video was 15 years old, so definitely it's very likely that they've been around for a longer period of time, and just observing and seeing probably when we'll be consciously at a different stage, when they can communicate with us. Because just imagine, if you can talk with any species of animals, and especially if it's lower level in the chart or in the hierarchy of consciousness, then if you talk with ants, you're probably going to freak them out of their tiny minds. And likewise, if there are advanced species of aliens out there and they're observing Earth already, and if they communicate now, it's gonna freak everyone out. We can't even handle each other, so we can't even handle different race, different cultures effectively. I can't even imagine, if we experience some sort of alien communication, that we are at the level where we can have a meaningful conversation. I'm sure the tribals or the people who are prone for violence among us gonna wanna shoot the hell out of them. And on the other end, it could be just that they're just waiting it out. Maybe they want to colonize the planet, but just waiting out for us to self-destruct, so that they can then use the planet and colonize it. One of the other thought I was having was probably they are just waiting for their other people or other aliens from their planet, their mother planet, to come over here. And if it's light years away, then it's very likely they waited for, say, I don't know, 500 years, and they may have to wait for another 500 years if their mother planet is say 1,000 light years away. That's assuming they can travel with the speed of light, which is again impossible. So maybe they're just waiting it out. Maybe they're waiting out for more aliens to come from their mother planet before they can act on anything. Who knows? But it's kind of interesting. It's amazing to kind of get that official confirmation, because there are a lot of people who kind of were on the edge, or who experienced different kind of UFOs, and most likely a lot of them were just looking at the advanced airplanes from US, developed by US or any other governments, and just misunderstood that as UFO. So yeah, that's a big thing. And definitely check out Joe Rogan's recent podcast. Your mind will be blown, and when you understand how the pilot, the commander David, he came about the alien ship, which he described was in the shape of Tic Tac. which means just like I don't know, like the one we had in Arrival, I guess. Like, it's pretty cylindrical, I guess, in shape. And the way he was describing, or the way he saw it, this spaceship, or this UFO, I would rather call it UFO, has capabilities which our technology doesn't have. So, this UFO can fly in any direction with very minimal effort, compared to how we developed all of our, planes and whatnot. So it's fascinating podcast altogether. So I won't be doing justice because I'm not well versed or have any first-hand experience with UFOs. Although I did. Okay. I don't know if I should say this, but there was this one time I went to camping with my friends, and let's just say I was in altered state and saw this sort of like lighted thing hovering over the lake, which was close to our camp. And that was mind-blowing. We all were like surprised, shocked, like, what exactly is happening? Is this for real? Are we dreaming? Or is this UFO? What's happening? We were like, just looking at each other, trying to figure out. And then it turned out that it was just a boat with, some sort of like ceiling, lighting over its ceiling. But it felt like, something was just hovering over water. And that experience, I cannot describe it, or rather, without going into details, I guess. But if they're observing us, if the UFO or the aliens in that UFO, if they're observing us, what message or how long would they have to wait till we, let's just say, become more conscious? Like, when I say we as a species become more conscious, become more compassionate towards other species, how we treat them, how we treat our planet in general. Let's assume that they are just waiting for us to get to the higher level of consciousness before they can communicate with us. How long do you think it will take us to reach that level? Based on all the shitstorm going on, I would say it's gonna take at least 50 years or so, because we are heading in wrong direction clearly. And that's debatable as well. I understand. I spoke with some of the people who disagree with me tremendously. They think that some of the things going on across the world, like rise of nationalism and rise of the right side of the political spectrum, is good overall, because some of these people feel that homogeneous society are better to handle the problems we have, which I completely disagree, because there is no homogeneous society. Within every homogeneous society, there is still a lot of diversity. If you pick up any nation, let's pick up, let's pick up Saudi Arabia, right? And they have they are Islamist country, right? And within that country, most of the people, I believe, I don't know if they are Shia or Sunni, which I should know, but they have a conflict with the other sect of Islam, right? So there is a conflict between Shia and Sunni. And likewise, if you pick up like any Christian nation, you're going to see conflict between different sects, like Catholic versus whatever the other sects are. Likewise, in India, you can see that there is conflict right now between different religions. But if India were all Hindu state, there's still going to be conflict because of the caste system. The caste system itself was, so differentiating that That's the whole reason why the other factors like Islam and Christianity, questionably both of these kind of sort of spread, because the caste system was dividing people. So the point I'm making is, no matter where you go, there is no homogeneous society. There are always going to be divisions within that, because by nature we are tribal. But I would like to picture that most of the people rise to the level where we describe our tribe as the global as a whole, instead of country, or instead of color, or instead of religion, or instead of caste, or instead of class. How long will that take? Again, that's questionable, but definitely the way things are going, definitely not for the next 50 years. That's the reality, and it's saddening, because in the next 50 years I will be 82, and hopefully dead, or if the technology is developed enough, hopefully feel like 25 was a good age, I would say. So if I can reverse my age, I would always be 25. That's a good age to be. So yeah, who knows, but it's an exciting time to live. On one end, technology is alleviating a lot of survival pain points we had throughout the history, and on the other end, the new mysteries of the universe are uncovering and blowing minds all the time. So these are two exciting things to experience in this timeline, and I'm looking forward for another 50 years or less. But the concept of various religions, or especially Hinduism and Buddhism, Jainism, at least these three religions which I know, has concept of reincarnation. So we're gonna be reborn after we die, and if that's true, then I'll be glad, because let's just say even if I'm dead, like in the next 40 years or something, I'll be reborn again and experience the reality in a different body with a different name tag and different relationship, different dynamics, different overview of looking at things. And if that's true, and if that happens, I hope that I come across my own videos, because obviously no one else is watching. So I hope that I come across my own videos and look back and say like, okay, yeah, that's me. And or at least be aware that that's me, and learn from this life and carry over. And it would be more like having an edge, having an advantage by not making the mistakes I made in this life, and make new mistakes and experience new things. So it would be interesting, but the jury is out there. I personally speaking, I don't know. I'm agnostic for a reason, because no one knows. But if I have to put my finger, I would say that hopefully we are not reborn onto this planet again and again, because I hope that if there is some concept of soul, which again I don't think so, or I don't know, then hopefully we transform to a different level of reality after we die, or hopefully just stay dead. That would be better, I guess, in some sense. I have this hypothesis, like, what happens to your phone if it's like completely dead? That's the state we're gonna be. But I'm not talking about when you don't have any power on your phone. That's technically you're hibernating, or the phone is hibernating, because once you charge it, it's undead. So that's not possible. So it's powered up. But once we die, we cannot be undead, and hopefully we stay dead, and that state is nothing. I mean, whatever senses we are experiencing right now, it will just stop that. We just stop to exist. So yeah, these are all the hypotheses out there, but one very unlikely hypothesis is some sort of God up there, and who is gonna reward us or punish us based on our deeds here. I think it's all here. We're gonna get our reward and our punishment most likely here in different shape and form. If you do good things happen to you. If you do something terrible things happen to you. That's a law of nature, I guess, and no one can escape that. And in Buddhism, Buddha think that we are reincarnated, and we are reborn every after every birth cycle, and in order to be liberated from that birth cycle, you have to in some sense you have to what's the word I'm looking for? Okay, I'm blanking on that word, but basically with Vipassana technique, Buddha describes that our body sensations, the natural sensations our body exhibit, are the memories of the experiences we accumulate throughout our life. And once we observe those sensations, it's sort of a closure for those sensations. So once we create a closure for each and every sensation, that's when we alleviate to the next level and eventually get enlightened. So when I don't know what the enlightened state of being is, I have glimpses of glimpses on different states, altered states, and I think that's what he means, where you can experience all the sensations throughout your body at all the times, and you can give closure or proactively make sure that these sensations are not driving you to either craving you towards something which you like, or aversing you from something you don't like. And when you give that closure to all of these sensations, eventually you rise to a level where you are enlightened and free from this rebirth. And according to him, when you die and without giving closure to all of these sensations, or at least the sensations which are buried within your body, kind of start as a starting point for your next life, which is interesting idea, but I personally don't know or subscribe to that. But that's where Hinduism also kind of have this unique concept that depending on your karma, or the actions you do in this life, your next life will be determined. So if you do if you create more pain and suffering for the rest of the world, then and if you can get away with it in this life, like an example, Trump, if he's creating so much suffering, in my perception, and arguably it's pretty clear out there. So the suffering he's creating, and he's very unlikely to live for I don't know how many years, and he's gonna die before he feel the consequences of his doings. So then in his next life, he will start from a point where his karma, the suffering he exhibited throughout the world, will be like a karmic justice, and he will be born with that suffering of some sort. This is Hinduistic concept. Instead of like having heaven or hell, where some sort of like God will punish you or reward you, Hindus believe that depending on your actions in this life, you will be rewarded or be punished in your next life. So if you create a lot of suffering, then you would have to go through different birth cycles. Like you will be born as an insect, as a different beings, like an ant, maybe like a fly, like a mosquito, or who knows, and you have to go through all of those cycles before you are reborn as a human again. And then as a human, when you're reborn, you have option or choices to correct path and attain enlightenment, which is again kind of thinking that humans are superior than other species. There is no evidence for that. Yeah, we are pretty smart. We are pretty clever species, for sure. But we are not very wise species, and at least not at the moment. So I don't think that humans are the only species. If that whole Hinduism concept is true, that I don't think that humans are the only species who can attain enlightenment. There are a lot of other conscious species too, like dolphins, and I think even octopus at some level. They are super smart, clever, and conscious. And maybe like cows and elephants. I don't know for sure, but I think these are conscious beings as well. So I don't see any reason that only we get to become enlightened, and rest of the species have to still go through the birth cycle, if that whole Hinduism concept is true, which is debatable. Who knows, man? Who knows what happened after you die? I personally think that I was nothing, I will be nothing, and I'm everything between these two nothingness. And I'm grateful to experience this everything, be born on this planet, experience the life as it is, with a lot of my own pains, a lot of my own suffering. But hey, every one of us has different degrees of suffering and pain, so it's not just me. And that's one of the things which, if people understand that the suffering is not just innate to you as a person, but everyone are going through their own struggle, that itself can help people to be more compassionate to other beings, and understand that when other people are acting from anger or anxiety or depression or joy or happiness, or name any emotional state for that matter, they are expressing the based on all of their experiences from the past. So I feel that obviously you can't do anything about your past, but you can do something about your present, so that your future self doesn't go through the same suffering which you are going through right now. So if you're having a real hard time right now, try to focus on where you want to be in the future. And if you want to be in a better place in the future, then start working towards that right now. Because based on your patterns, based on what your brain knows at the moment, if you don't change your path, if you are going through hard times, then you will continue to exhibit the same patterns, and you will continue to experience the same suffering or pain as you're experiencing today. So if you want to get out of this suffering and experience the real joy of the world, then you would have to act today. You would have to act now and course correct yourself to see how your future self can become better, can experience the reality in the best possible way. And I believe everyone have to self-discover what their path gonna be for them. And that's the most difficult part, and that's why, if you look up online, there are so many motivational speakers, and I don't claim to be one. I'm nowhere motivational. Some days I get hard time just motivating myself, so I'm not motivating anyone. But what I do is things which help me to change the patterns. So the first thing you would have to do if you want to course correct yourself and change your future self is to realize your own patterns and what patterns are not serving you and which patterns are serving you. The hobbies, the habits, the behaviors which you express today, if they are not serving you, then you are better off letting go of those patterns and adapting to the patterns which you want to which you want your future self to have. And I completely understand that it's very, very difficult. It's a very tough path, and it requires a lot of discipline to act on. And it took me long time, and I'm still trying to break down my previous patterns and create these new patterns. And one of the helpful method which I found was the 1-3-5 plan, which I use in my day-to-day life, which is to break down my life into 1 week, 3 weeks, and 5 weeks plan. And I start telling myself a different story. That's the most important part. Regardless of everything else, the story you're telling yourself is determining how good you feel about yourself, or how bad you feel about yourself. So the story you're telling yourself has to be real, practical, and at the same time shouldn't be constrained to just one specific experience. For an example, if you had a bad encounter with someone, and if you tell yourself a story that every single time I interact with that person, I'm gonna have a bad experience, that itself is self-fulfilling prophecy in some sense, and you will find a way to have bad experience with that person. And just not with people per se, but even with your actions. So if you tell yourself a story that you suck at working out, that's what your brain will tell you, that you suck during workout or whatever, and it's very likely that you will never ever go and work out and work on your overall health, and that again gonna go into a different spiral, and your body gonna experience, or your mind body gonna experience a lot of different issues. But if you change the narration, and if you tell yourself okay, I suck at working out, but I will work out regardless. No matter how much I suck today, I will keep working on myself so that maybe in a year, or maybe in 5 years, I won't suck at working out. Or for that matter, pick anything you want to work on. And in order to get to that place, the story at least I tell myself is, how am I measuring it? And that's where the 1-3-5 plan comes into picture, because I list down what I want to do in a specific week. If I meditate every single day, if I write a journal every single day, and I'm getting into reading again, if I read every single day, if I go to different things which I planned out, like open mic or Aikido or any of the events I'm part of, or organizations I'm part of, if I do those things, I count my day as successful. it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what was the result of it. If I messed up, let's just say on my open mic, if I bombed and no one even cared to even listen to me or ignored me completely, which happens when you're an open mic and you're performing in the room filled with comics. Yeah, that's the toughest crowd to perform to. Drunk people, oh yeah, those are amazing crowd to perform to. But room filled with comics, that's where the real hustle, the real struggle is. And if I tell myself a story that every single time I did not perform well in front of other people, and if I tell myself that I suck at it or whatever, then well, going back to the point, that will become true or eventually, but okay, I gotta take a step back and say that, like, yeah, it's gonna be a struggle. I'm gonna have bad days, bad moments, and in those bad moments, if I continue to persist in perseverance for that, for that skill, then eventually I will be at a state where I will get better at it. And I've seen myself in the past year how I used to perform, and now when I go up there, my performance is drastically improved. And that's one of the reasons why I'm whenever I speak in front of camera by myself, I get a bit of hesitance because, first of all, I'm just talking to myself, which seems absurd, but in a way I'm talking to you, if anyone's watching, but there is no feedback, so I'm just flowing through my thoughts. But eventually I will get to a state where I'll feel more comfortable expressing my stream of thought, and that's the state I'm aiming for. And this is just a playing ground for that. Maybe this entire video gonna suck big time. Maybe no one ever gonna watch this, and that's absolutely fine. Because practice and persistence and patience, these are the key things to kind of get better at anything. And if you're having bad time right now, pick up what you want to get better at and keep doing it. You will experience a lot of downtime when you do that as well. You will experience a lot of bad moments. You will experience a lot of you get the point, but the key is to go past that. You have to keep doing it no matter what. Let the whole world say whatever they want to. When I started this live streaming meditation for an hour, I bet there are other people who does that. But some of the people told me, like, what are you really doing? Like, you're just sitting in front of camera with your eyes closed. Why would anyone watch this? And my first reaction was like, yeah, that's true. No one gonna watch my entire hour-long meditation, or for that matter, no one even watches all the things I say at the moment. And that's fair enough, that's fine. But if I'm gonna get better at meditation, if I'm gonna get better at speaking in front of camera comfortably, then I have to do this. And I will continue to do this. And it's not about getting that approval that I will do something only if people watch me. That is an approval, and that's not a good state to be personally, because if I just start being needy for that approval, it's very unlikely that I will ever get this. I don't know if I'll ever be a successful podcaster or whatever this live stream is supposed to be, or I don't know if I'll ever be the famous comic I want to be. But that's the approval part. I have no control over that. But what I do have control over is doing these things. I can sit down here, I can meditate for an hour, I can talk in front of camera. This is something I have control over. I will go to every open mic I can. I will wait there for hours for my turn. I will go on stage and perform for 4 hours. That's something I have control over. I don't have control over how the crowd react. Maybe even with my best set, the crowd gonna hate it, or there are so many different things which gonna go wrong. And if I am fixated on that, then it's very, 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 very unlikely that I will ever improve at that, because then my motivation is to just become needy and get approval from others, and that's and at that level you will never self-improve. If you want to self-improve at any task, just do it and keep doing it, regardless of what the other people say, regardless of what the world tells you. It's okay. It's okay. I'm sure a lot of people thinks this conversation or one-sided conversation as lame, stupid, whatever, but I don't care. I don't mind, because this is something which brings joy in my life. I feel fulfilled at the end of the day when I meditate. This is just a icing on top. This is just a live streaming. That is, live streaming is just an icing. So the main goal is to meditate, right? So I get fulfillment by doing things which I told myself that I will do. And even if this doesn't take me anywhere, I'm still happy. I still count myself as or I still count this day as successful if I do this. And that's more important for me, because 10 years from today, I won't remember what I did on October 6th, 2019. I will have no idea unless, I rewatch this video 10 years from today. So I will have no idea. Like, how many of you remember what you did 10 years back on this day? It's very unlikely, unless you have real life-changing experience of some sort, or life event of some sort. So what's the point? What's the point of stressing over something which you are very unlikely to remember? But if you change your narration, if you just plan to do only, say, 3 things or 4 things for every single day, and if you check mark those 4 things, it could be as basic as, again, maybe being mindful, maybe being meditative, maybe just doing 5 push-ups and pull-ups, maybe doing some sort of breath work for 5 minutes. Whatever you define it, you define your own goal. That's the best part of this life. No one had to define how you live your life unless you give them power to do so. As long as you have control over your life, you have complete power. And when you gauge yourself based on these constraints, 10 years from today, I have data of what I did today, because I check mark the 4 things, 5 things I did today, and I'm sure 10 years from today I will say, okay, that was a good day because I did these 3-4 things which I planned to do that day. And I will count myself as I think I'll become better, more joyful, be at a more happier state. But of course, I'm gonna have a lot of depressed moments. Even then, a lot of angry, anxiety-filled, whatever. I'm gonna experience all the emotions which I'm experiencing in today as well, and that's actually is a good thing, because what is happiness if you're not sad? If you haven't experienced sadness ever, then what exactly is happiness? If you haven't experienced depressed moment ever, then what exactly is joyfulness? That's the same yin and yang concept, right? Unless you experience one, you cannot, you don't know the value of the other. So I will experience all of these moments even then. But at the end of the day, if I'm saying myself, if the story I'm telling myself is, if I did these 4 things, I count that day as a good day. That's all the information I need. Like I said, 10 years from today, I won't remember what I did today. Okay, so I guess this conversation, or one-sided conversation, I'm trying to figure out how long I've been talking. So I don't know, honestly. I couldn't see the time there, which is kind of good and bad thing, because now I'll be just talking forever if I don't stop myself. So without any overdue, I will be doing an hour-long meditation using Vipassana technique, which was a technique rediscovered by Buddha. And the technique itself is to focus on your natural breath. Just be conscious about your natural breath, not consciously breathe. And also be conscious about or observe your sensations throughout your body. And as different sensations comes, it could be a painful sensation or a pleasurable sensation, whatever it may be. As those sensations come from within or from external stimulus, just observe it and do not react, or don't crave for it, or don't be averse for it. So be equanimous, be equanimous towards it. So just calmly observe it, and you will notice that it will go away, because everything is temporary. So that sensation will pass away, and you will experience different sensations, new sensation. And keep observing these sensations, and I guess keep working on yourself, because these sensations will bring different memories. Because this is what I firmly believe, that our mind body absorb all the experiences we experience throughout our life. From the moment I was born till the moment I'm gonna die, my mind body will experience all of these experiences and absorb it and remember it. So when those experiences bubble up while meditating, and if I let go of those experiences, that will be a closure for it. So some sort of unresolved experience which I had maybe in my high school can show up, and if I just observe it and let go of it, it will be a closure, and I can move past that. And the more I'm gonna do this, the more time I spend on meditating with Vipassana technique for the next whatever years, the better I will become at not just letting go of past sensation, but also to let go or manage effectively my present or sensation at that time, because your sensations are also repetitive like patterns. So that's what triggers us, right? Like if you get triggered with anger, and your body will remember that, and next time when you get angry, the similar sensations show up in your body. And if you can observe those sensations and let go of that, then you'll be able to better manage your anger issues. And I realized that I just said maybe X minutes back that I should stop talking, and I'm still talking. I guess like today is surprisingly, obviously, for the first part of the day, I was just silent wherever I went, to all the training classes I went, all the practices I went, I didn't speak at all. And now I'm like, just can't stop, can't shut up. I guess some of it is to blame to one of the energy bar I took, which have like caffeine, which is I don't drink coffee at all, but this looked like a good, cool energy bar and has caffeine. So maybe all of this talking is coming from that caffeine, so don't blame me. All right, let's get started. Hey Google, set an alarm for an hour from now.
Done. Your alarm's set for tomorrow at 12:13 a.m.
Hey Google, stop. Well, thanks for joining me on this meditation hour, and I hope that you cultivate and develop some sort of meditative practice, and it brings peace in your life and you stay peaceful.